Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Genuine APBT. On today's episode, I want to answer a couple or maybe one specific question that was asked by Best of the Beast. And I think he did it in his Daily Dose of Pitbull #2. In the comments, I did comment that I was going to answer one of his specific questions that he asked in this video. And I think the question was, I want to read my notes here so I can be absolutely sure that I'm asking the right question. How hard would it be to tweak the prey drive and make these dogs, the American Pit Bull Terrier, more available for modern jobs today? I think the question was somewhere along those lines. How hard would it be to tweak the prey drive of an American Pit Bull Terrier, make the dog more available for the modern jobs today? I think what you were getting to in your question is, and if I assume this correctly, and it's just an assumption, I think you want to preserve the American Pit Bull Terrier, so you want to use him in a wider field of application. So he would be more, not necessarily acceptable, but that the world can turn around and see, wow, these dogs have the intelligence, they have the trainability, even though they have super high prey drive, even though they're game bred dogs, they are intelligent enough and trainable enough to be used as personal protection dogs, bite work, and to be able to control human aggression. Okay, that's a loaded question. So the video is going to be a little bit long, but I really hope to touch on some issues that can benefit the American Pit Bull community in a very good way. The reason I want to answer your question is because I'm pretty passionate about it. And what I want to clear up even before that, though, is I'm going to touch a little bit on dogfighting, and because we have to talk about gameness a little bit. But as you know, this is purely historical, okay? It's absolutely historical, and any experience that I have from witnessing it when I was a child, it is pre-1976 or right up to 1976. I was really young, but I did get to see some of it, okay? I did get to see some of it, and I had hands-on experience with some of the dogs that were still alive that were used for fighting right around 1979, 1980. They were retired dogs, and you'll see me go into a story that's extremely important, and it's totally connected to my answer, okay? So let me go back to your question. Can the dogs, or can the prey drive be tweaked so we can use them for personal protection, okay, or bite work? And what you're really asking is to be able to control human aggression from an American Pit Bull Terrier, okay? But let me clear something up first, okay? Nowadays, there would be no way in being able to absolutely say with absolute conviction that you're using a game dog, because we're not supposed to be testing gameness, right? At least not in its absolute purest sense, which is in the pit, okay? We're not supposed to be, sorry, I touched the camera. We're not supposed to be testing for absolute gameness. Now, we can test for a high probability of gameness in hog hunting, but that's not an absolute guarantee that the dog would have been game in the pit, in the combat pit. So as long as we understand that, okay, nobody's testing for true historical pit gameness or dead game. Okay, we're not testing for that. We're not involved in that. We don't condone it. We don't practice it. And when we talk about it, and I'm talking about the true American Pit Bull Terrier community that's out there on YouTube, you know who you are. We know who we are. We talk about it in a historical sense. Okay, we talk about it in a historical sense. We absolutely don't condone it. We're explicit about not condoning it, and so we don't want to be confused regardless of what other camps might be saying. Okay, let's clear that up. So the question here is not really, can you tweak the prey drive of a game dog? It should be more along the lines of, can we tweak the prey drive of a game bred dog? Not a game dog, because we don't know if he's absolutely game, but we do know that if you're breeding according to the game pedigree. We do use the pedigrees for that, and they are important. They do have some importance, okay? Yeah, we can't just discount the pedigrees and say, oh no, pedigrees don't mean anything. The dog makes the pedigree. Yeah, the dog does make the pedigree, but the dog that's standing in front of you that you're hoping that makes the pedigree still has a pedigree. You still have to hold the pedigree up and say, does the dog that's standing in front of me match up to the pedigree that I have? Because if you don't have a pedigree, all you're going to have is a dog that's a mutt. And you're going to go, well, does he match up? And you go, yeah, to what? To an invisible pedigree? No good. You still have to have the pedigree. There is some value to the pedigree. So I think when you hear people that have been involved with the dogs for decades and decades, when you hear us say the pedigree is not the most important thing, we are not saying that the pedigree is absolutely worthless. Don't hear that. There is an extreme value to a pedigree. It's how you know how your dog is bred, and that's absolutely essential to the expectations of the actual dog that's standing in front of you. According to how he's bred, that's a standard you're going to hold to what you're trying to see and what your expectations are. Okay? So, question again. I'm going to tweak your question a little bit, and it should be, can we tweak the prey drive of a game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier? Okay? Because we know it's going to have, let's just assume for argument's sake, okay, that he's going to have intensity, he's going to have extreme prey drive, extreme athleticism, and he's going to be a true game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier. He's going to have everything that you want, all the qualifications, man, and all the stuff that you see in him, man. Not just aesthetically, but you're going to see him either weight pulling, wall climbing, swimming, running, treadmilling, whatever it is that you're going to use to see if he's truly what you are hoping for. Okay? Now, I know what you're trying to do. I know that you're trying to preserve the breed. I know you're trying to expand the breed to a level to where it's competing with some of these other great dogs like the Belgian Malinois, the German Dobermans that come from Germany, you know, the German Shepherds that are true working, high-end, tactical, trained dogs. I know that. And so let me ask you something, or let me answer something. Is a true game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier intelligent enough to compete with these dogs? Absolutely. I had one. Coco was like that. Coco was trained to an absolute high level. What you see on her little videos here in the front, she's done listening to me. She listens to me, but she's not going to go for the hand signs, and she's not going to go for the total obedience anymore. She's 15 years old. And so I think with 15 years old, she's entitled to disobey a little bit. She still doesn't get off the grass, which is really cool. And she still listens to some hand signs because she's totally deaf. She can't hear anymore. So she was like that though. And I took her to extreme training. I didn't take her to a PetSmart type of training. I didn't do my own, backyard training. No, I took her to a Kohler method training. Okay. These guys are trainers of tactical, military style dogs. Okay. And I think in her class, there was, I want to say 22 dogs. And at the end of the class, it was only 6 dogs that made the cut. Only 6 dogs made it to the graduation day, and Coco was one of them. And Pat was the guy that was teaching here in Southern California. Super strict guy. Awesome guy, though. And really, really good trainer. She was the teacher's pet. Every time he wanted to demonstrate how intelligent a dog was and how focused a dog was, he would say, "Can I borrow Coco?" And he would show in front of the class what she can do. I mean, she was doing incredible things, even here at the house. I would put her in the back of my truck with the back of the truck with the deck lid completely open. And I would put her at a sit-stay for 20 minutes. And I would be inside the house watching her through the window. Didn't matter if cats went by. Didn't matter if dogs went by. She would tremble. She wanted to get down and get it on with them, but she wouldn't do it. Now, that's kind of stupid in my eyes to do that, because if she would have got off the truck and torn up one of these dogs and torn up one of these cats, I would have been a contributor to the negativity in our dog breed. Okay. So my mind started changing. I knew that she was extremely obedient, but she changed my mind. Let me tell you why. I took her to the dog beach one time. She was dog tolerant. Very, very picky when I took her on those days. I had to really read her very well. I took her on a 20-foot lead. took the lead off. She was being obedient for about an hour. And this is when she was 7.5 years old. I trained her when she was a year and a half old. So she was about 6 years into this perfect obedience training, okay? Are they intelligent enough? Are they focused enough? Yes, until they're not. Why? Because they're game bred. They have something in them that the Belgian Malinois might not have, that the Doberman and the German Shepherd might not have. They have something in them that is this extreme prey drive that you can try to control it, but you can't compare it. You can't compare it. This is why, okay? I'm going to tell you a story, legitimate story, okay? 1980. I'm in high school. My good friend's brother, I won't say the name to protect the guilty, not the innocent. He was gangbanging here in Los Angeles and running away from the police. They let a canine unit loose on him. He runs through some parking structure and is able to hide from the officer, but the dog finds him, okay? He knows the dog's gonna latch onto him. This is him talking to my friend and I months after when he was gonna go to prison. And he was ready to go to prison, okay? He was going to court during that time. He's out on bail, ready to go to prison. And he tells us a story. He says, this dog's ready to latch onto me. The officer's not around, but it's him and the dog. He puts up his arm to feed it to the dog because he knows the dog's gonna latch on something. He wants to give him the arm. Grabs his arm. This guy proceeds to pull out a marker, a Sharpie, and stick it inside the dog's eye. Pops his eye out, okay? Dog cries, turns around, runs away. This guy runs away with a dog bite, okay? Dog retrieved, dog quit, all right? Now, a year before that, and this is what I was getting to as far as the hands-on dealing with the dog that had pit experience, okay? Not under mine. She wasn't my dog. I was actually walking it for a friend of mine, and I was very young. I was about 16, maybe 17, almost 17 years old. A buddy of mine and I, we were walking a dog for the dog's owner, okay? And at that time, yes, he was active in the dog fighting. I mean, it was still legal. It was frowned upon, but that was it. I mean, this is like 1974, 1975 here in Southern California. You know, what he was doing, he wasn't going to get in trouble for. But when I had my hands on the dog was retired already, okay? An extreme dog, 35-pound dog, 35 pounds. She had stitches coming from here, coming down, all the way right here. She had literally had her face ripped off during one of the contests. She had game. It was about an hour and 48-minute contest, and she won, and the dog was healthy when I had her, okay? When I was walking her. It wasn't my dog, but when I was walking her. And I seen the dog in action because there was this one guy that had, a lot of people had pit bulls during that time, and they were the legit pit bulls. There was no bully breeds. You're talking 1979, 1980. There was no bullies around here, okay? When somebody said pit bull, you knew that they were talking about a dog that was the business. It wasn't a bully dog. It wasn't a half-breed. It was an American pit bull terrier, game-bred dog, okay? Because not too long ago, and even current at that time, people were still fighting these dogs, okay? And so I'm walking her. Her name was Lucky. I'm walking the dog with my friend, and this other guy that didn't like us, he was a little older, he let his, I think it was a Mastiff, I'm not sure, probably 90-pound dog, lets him out, and this little 35-pound female latches on to a 90-pound male. And you had my friend and I, the owner of the 90-pound dog, and his father trying to get her off of this dog. Wasn't going to happen. Just wasn't going to happen. When you see the veracity and the intensity of a dog that is bred correctly and is game, and since you don't know if you have a game dog right now unless you test it, we don't know. It's elusive. It could be the sweetest, Go lucky dog, just super nice to people, even dog tolerant, even to some cats. But when that switch turns on, let me just tell you something. Best of the beast. You know, I've seen it. I've experienced a dog like that. There's no way that you're going to do anything. You're certainly not going to command it with your mouth to give up what it's doing. It's not going to happen. You can think you're going to train it that way, but it won't work. Okay? We could not get the dog off. We didn't have a breaking stick. Okay? Talking 1980, we didn't have one. 16-year-old kids. Pretty crazy that this guy let me walk this dog. My female, the female that's in one of my other videos, my girl, she was pregnant at the time, so I was walking this dog for him because we used to like going out and walking the dogs out in the street, okay? It took forever, man. It really took forever. All I could really do was grab Lucky's ears and the back of her neck and just wait. Just wait and hope that she would let go just for a second, and that's exactly what happened, and the dog was ready to die. I mean, he was having a very hard time breathing, okay? I'm holding on, she lets go, bam, I was able to get her off. The second I turned her around and put her head over my shoulder, she's licking me. She's licking me full of blood from the other dog. So you have a dog that's absolute game that was tested 4 years before that, and I'm seeing her get it on with a 90-pound dog, and she's 35 pounds. And we could not break her. And I know that she didn't get the training. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm not saying that they're not intelligent enough or they don't have the trainability. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is because I've experienced the story of my friend's brother stabbing a dog in the eye, a canine unit, and making him run away crying. And then I've experienced a dog that had her face torn off and kept fighting. And then I saw what that looks like when it's actually just tearing into another dog that tried to attack her, by the way, because that's what happened. We were walking with her on the leash, and this guy let his dog out. Pretty stupid. He let his dog out. He thought his 90-pound piece of junk was going to kill this 35-pound dog. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. His dog almost ended up dying for stupidity, okay? And that's what happened. So you need to be really, really careful here. Going back to Coco, she, at the dog beach, sees this Boston Terrier, and my neighbor's talking. Sorry, hope it doesn't bother you on the video. Sees this Boston Terrier, and she's on it, man. She's on it. And just luckily that I was able to have that 20-foot lead and just stopped her, man. Boom, clotheslined her, did a flip, and I pulled her back in. If I would not have had her on that lead, I don't know what would have happened. But I was doing everything that I had done, every word that I had said, every quit, every stop, every out, all those words, it didn't mean anything. When that switch is triggered, because that's what the dogs are bred for, that's what we love in these dogs. We don't want it to be gone in our dogs. We don't want that. The only way you're going to really, really control it, man, is don't have her off leash. Don't try to introduce them to an aggression that's for humans, because that's something that we've all tried, and I know that the guys that have bred them have historically tried to not have that trait in their dogs. And when you start introducing them, you're playing a very dangerous game. You're playing a game that you can't control, and you won't know it until that day that she fails. Coco failed that one time, okay? She didn't grab the dog. The second time she did it, we were getting a car towed in the street. She's sitting on my porch with my wife. She had let the mailman walk on the property 5-6 years, no problem. Completely obedient to my wife, laying down. Mailman stops at the edge of the property and asks, "Is she fine?" Wife says, "Yes, she's fine." No, she wasn't. She got up. She didn't bite him. She didn't latch on to his mail bag. There was no aggression shown there, but she barked at a full bark and kind of shooed him right to the edge of the sidewalk. Turned around, came back to my wife. The guy dropped his mail. The guy was shaking. He couldn't talk. And the postmaster called me the next day and explained to me that, hey, since she didn't grab his bag, she's not going to be registered as an aggressive dog or human aggressive dog. And so I had my mail, they continued to deliver my mail. But see, that's what I'm saying. Even Coco, that was 95% off leash, neighbor saying hi, 95% off leash. She had those 2 times when she failed, and I just thank God that she'd never latched on to anything. So all of this, okay, to say if you have an American Pit Bull Terrier, a game-bred American Pit Bull Terrier, I would adamantly tell you, do not introduce it to human aggression, man. Do not introduce bite work to it. Do not introduce human protection to that dog. Go out and get yourself a dog that is absolutely controllable, okay? It's like, let me give you this analogy, okay? It's like trying to use a course car, like a GT3, Porsche GT3 that's made for a course with stops and turns and accelerations and shifting, and you try to use it for a quarter-mile drag race. There are specific dogs that are bred for specific things. I get that. I get that you want to push the limit and train them. Let me tell you something. Train the dog to be a bomb sniffer, a drug dog. Do that, where you can still have them on a leash. You do not want to see the gameness show up when that dog is latched on to a human. You don't want to see that. Now, I know you talked about a dog that you had that you believe had game because when he was a puppy, he was attacked by other dogs, and you know, he never backed off. He went on his back and he defended himself. And I hope I'm saying this correctly, okay? That's not gameness. That's not the kind of gameness that I'm talking about. I'm talking that elusive ace gameness that shows up once in a blue moon. It's just too risky, man. Because when you see that, you're going to know that that's the kind of dog that you need to be very, very careful with. And I really appreciate what our brother that was walking his female in Las Vegas, APBT, Canine Performance Athletes, I appreciate that he came back and he said that that's not what he does with her. And I know he doesn't, man. I know that guy's a real deal. I know that he's been around for a long time. And he would never, that's not a practice that he does. He wanted to prove a point, and he proved a point. That's an obedient dog, man. And I love that video. It was great, man. So props to you, bro. That was excellent. But I know that that's not what he does. And I'm almost sure, I'm not going to speak for him, but I'm almost sure that he would tell you the same thing. To be very, very careful and don't go backwards in the evolution of the dog and everything that's been accomplished with the dog and how we're all trying to preserve the dog and we're all trying to polish its image. Don't go backwards. I would think that's really going backwards, man. And I know Thompson's Kennels has done a really good video on this a while back. I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, where he was talking about the same thing. Sorry, guys, my camera ran out of the capacity to keep recording on my phone. I do everything on my phone. And so anyways, I was talking about Thompson's Kennels, and I believe that he did a video about a year and a half ago on the same subject, or he touched on the subject. Maybe the video wasn't on the subject itself, but he touched on it. And I believe that he disagreed with it also. So Best of the Beast, please take this in the most respectful way. I like what you're doing, man. I like the way you are with your dogs. I think you're coming from a good place, man, to try to do this. But I would just advise you, man, with the strongest advisement, man, to just be really careful. That's probably a road that you don't want to go down, man. Again, if you want to go down that road, use the dogs that have been bred for that for decades and decades and decades and have proven to be manageable in that practice. Now, I know that there are some American Pit Bull Terriers. I've seen it. They do a really good job. They do good bite work, all that stuff. But me personally, I just wouldn't do it. And I hope the reasons that I exposed today validated that. Please remember, I do not condone dogfighting. I know it's illegal, and that is exactly why I would not practice it. I don't involve myself in any illegal activities at all. At all. Not the breeding, not the selling of the puppies, not the exporting, none of that stuff at all with dogfighting. I understand what time it is. I know what century we're in or what year we're in. And don't get caught up in that, man. You're going to lose. You're going to lose, man. You're going to lose a lot of things. You're going to use time in prison. And you're going to lose your family. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your dogs. So just don't do it. Just don't do it, man. Everything that we were talking about, or that I was talking about, was purely historical. It happened. The dog that fought 1974, 1975. It was completely legal here. And I had the dog in my possession in that accident that happened when that guy let his dog loose, right around 1980 or 1981 or 1980, around there. I can't remember. But yeah, just historical, man. They're two things that happen. They just happen. Okay, not condoning them, not telling people to do them, but they're just things that we learn from. And I think those things actually help us to understand our breed a lot better. All right, I hope this video was helpful, guys. And like I always say, know them, love them, and raise them responsibly.